This is page 24, number 26 through 32, but I'm starting at 27, finishing with 26. So with this one, 27 says the percent of female among respondents were well, it asked for a percent, so it's definitely not A and B. Is this one asking for how many variables does this problem address? How many variables does number 27 mention? Sorry. One. Which means we're doing what kind of distribution? Marginal. So we're doing the marginal for female. I went ahead and wrote in the totals so we don't have to sit there and write those down. So to find this one, I'm doing what divided by what?
2625 or 4877.
And that gives us
53.8.
You might have written female over overall total female over overall total. This is one that I would say does not require much work. That's the kind of work I would need to see for that problem. Your percent for the previous exercise is a part of. We just said that it is definitely marginal because it only even talks about one variable. We're definitely not talking about opinion at all in this problem, in this specific problem. So it comes down to A or B. The only difference is this, but they're talking about the same type thing. One of them is generic and one of them is specific. This one is my generic, my category. This is our specific. This is not one that I addressed directly, but you should be able to look back at any other problem we've done and figure out the right answer. So when we talk about marginal distribution, do I say marginal distribution of a specific or marginal distribution of the generic?
Specific.
The way I ask the problems in the notes. Generic. I would say find the marginal distribution of what? My written part here might be marginal, only one variable, and then gender is my generic instead of specific, like something like that. So when I need you to write or show work or write words, this homework is one that is very little words, numbers that you would have to write. Yeah.
So would you do the distribution of female, choice A?
Okay, so it's just that it's not a distribution, it's a piece of the distribution. Does that make sense? So when we say if you do the marginal distribution, you're doing the marginal distribution of all of the possibilities for that whole category, and that's just part of that category, and that's why it's not A.
Okay.
And that's why I said that's one thing I didn't specifically address. You'd have kind of had to go backwards to the note to look to see what you did.
And is it because if you find the percentage of female, then we can also find the percentage of male? So we know that.
If you do marginal, you would do it of both, and that's why it's B as opposed to A. So yes. Alright, so number 29, what percent of females thought they were almost certain to be married in the next 10 years? How many variables are addressed there?
2.
So we know right off the bat that this one is not going to be anything with marginal because we're dealing with 2 different variables. I'm kind of talking around about this. It's called conditional distribution. So we have a given condition. What is the given condition? Is the given condition the females or the certain to be married? I'm trying to think about the way I want to ask this. I'm going to have to either say, we know that we're dealing with this box right there, right? So I'm either doing this one this way, or I'm doing this one this way, and I have to decide based on the wording. I'm saying that I'm dealing with the condition that they are females. So in that case, I'm dealing with it this way. Does everybody see that? This could be the exact same question, and it would say, what percent of those who were almost certain to be married in the next 10 years were female, and then it would switch. So here, and I would probably write a little bit more for this one, I'd put like female certain out of what would be my category for the bottom, based off the way I've boxed it. And then, so that means I'll be 1174 over 2625 to get my math for that one. What's this one?
44.72.
I guess I didn't circle the answer earlier, but. Alright, so 30, and this continues off of the 29 being a little bit, I guess, an extension of what we did yesterday. Your percent from the previous exercise is, we know it's conditional. So it is a conditional, it is part of, I want to see the way it's worded. Think about the way we write, when I did the graph, I just said conditional distribution of something separately for each. Make sure I want to say it that way. So this one would be the conditional distribution separately for each what? Separately for each gender, because I see I separate it by gender. So it's the conditional distribution of what? Separately for each gender. And it's kind of easier, and I expect let me tell you, I don't really care if you got 29 or 30 right. I care if you understand 29 and 30 right now. It's easier to think about 30 like the way we write it. It's the conditional distribution of what separately for each, and it's easier way to think about it that way. Questions on 29 or 30? Yes.
So, real quick, can you just explain again the difference between C and D for 29? Or I'm sorry, for 30.
For 30, okay. So, yes. The way I wrote it, and I'm asking y'all to ask questions here because I expect there to be. If I do it like this, you see how I would do bars, and I'll do it separate for each gender. So here is the conditional distribution of the thing I didn't separate for. It's the conditional distribution of this separately for each one of these, as opposed to if I did this way instead. Like I started talking about, that would be our answer to E. Oh, did you say C and D or D and E?
C and D.
So C is what I'm drawing up here.
Okay.
It's the reverse order. Because it's separately for each opinion. Separated that way. And then the difference between D and E is like it was the last problem. These are generic and these are specific. We're not dealing with just that one option and just that one option. You do it for generic. I need y'all to be okay with the whole picture here. That's my main concern. Alright. 31, what percent of those? So it's not always going to necessarily be sections like this, but that helps if it does it that way. So we actually have already talked about 31 and 32. So now, what number is going to go on top? Oh wait, what number is going to go on bottom? Because I separated it by that. I knew I was only dealing with this. Now which ones were female? Which gives me, I'm guessing this one.
Yes.
Is this marginal? No, it's not two variables. So this is the switched one. So it's the conditional distribution of gender among adolescents of a given opinion. So it's the one we just talked about. I just did it with what he just asked about. This is 30, 31, or 31, 32, as opposed to 29, 30. Questions with this, other than 26? Alright, so this one already gave us totals. It's asking me the relationship between, it gives me both variables. If I'm talking about both variables, I know that I'm dealing with what? Conditional. If I'm doing conditional, I'm going through the entire process all the way to the graph and the conclusion, which is the part that people didn't do on the homework. So I have to now come up with a decision. I have to decide what before that. So I have to fill in the blanks. So which one, what's our generic category here?
CHD status.
What's up here? So which one might influence the other one? Which one's going to possibly make me have heart disease? So that's your first decision, which means, and I keep talking about this one and this one. Some people write both, but most people don't. That's fine. So I'm going to do a conditional distribution of blank. What goes here? So I'm doing separately for each what? The one that may influence. Which means my other one goes here. So this is something that I would expect a lot of you, and I saw a lot of people that looked like they had fairly decent, like, words written out, descriptions, conclusions, graphs, work, numbers, but nowhere on there that you wrote what you actually did. And that's like one of the nitpicky things that's kind of important. Write somewhere that you made the decision to do the conditional distribution. I came to a couple of you and told you that part was missing, and that looked like the only thing that was missing, but that's definitely important. All right, so next step would be doing the math, finding the work. So let's talk about how we would write this, organize this, whatever. How many sections am I going to need? 3, because I'm separating by anger level. Let's see if my colors match. And then what do I need for each one?
PhD status.
I'm just going to shorthand real quick because I don't want to waste my time writing all this up. I should say no CHD for all those. So what would I want to see right beside this? I'll have this for me. Like this is your work. You're taking a test. What do I want to see right here?
50.
3,100.
And I want to see that for all 6 of those. Should be 1.7, 98.30, 2.3. These might be rounded different. What is this? Is this 2.3 or 2 point what?
2.33.
What's this one?
97.
Sorry, I'm skipping. 4.3 what? Or,
2.27.
and you should be able to figure them all out from there. I'm just writing something down for if somebody goes back and watches this video. All those should be filled in. I should have all of this for all 6 of those. But I don't want to waste 5 minutes. Just write that down. Alright, so I've written down what I'm doing. I show the math. Now I do what? Graph. Again, I'm probably not going to graph the whole thing out, but I'm going to graph enough to talk about every single detail. What goes here? Because that's what the one that might influence. So we've got low, moderate, high. What goes over here? What do I know about those? Always go to 100. All those bars are going to go up to 100. What am I going to put right here? And specifically context? One of them's going to be CHD, one of them's going to be no CHD, depending on what you color in or don't color in. CHD is going to be a lot smaller than the other one, so I'll probably be that one. I'm going to show you. Y'all need me to draw this box out if I need to. It ends up being like almost like this out of the whole box. Right? I am saying the right one, correct? Sometimes I have different problems. I think of the wrong one. It doesn't look like it changed that much. So in your description, when you're talking about these, should you say that it just doesn't change much? What could you say? So let's go back to our numbers here. 1.7, 2.33, and 4.27. Even though that's not much, is that, I hate to use the word significant, but it's the best thing we can use here. Significant means something really specific in our class. We just don't talk about it for a few months. Does that look like a significant increase? What is anger level versus low anger? What is high anger versus low anger? Use math, compare words.
Anger has
It's great.
More specific.
a better or higher chance of
More specific. You just told me it's significant. Use math words to explain why it's significant if it's not that much.
More than double.
It's more than double, like things like that that you can use that are descriptions. I get a bunch of examples that are like, while it only increased by about 0.3363, that's an increase of over 50%, kind of thing like that. And so you can like use words like that to compare it to make better arguments. Thinking if I want to write one up or read somebody's.
Can you go back to the graph for a second?
And that graph is drawn terribly, so that's not. What am I missing though?
Title.
Title. And I should have more numbers over here. I'll just write them real quick so that, even though I'm not spacing that right. Make sure you do that. I would do conditional distribution of, which is the same thing that I just wrote right here. Segmented bar graph of that is probably what I'll write. Actually, I think I know what I'm gonna do. can sit here and how many people are like, I think I could, raise your hand if you think you could write a conclusion right now and be okay with it. Like we did yesterday. Surely somebody feels okay about it. I mean, not like I'm going to read yours. I mean, like if I give you a test, you're not like, oh dear God, I'm going to fail. I have some people feel okay about it, right? How many people cannot write a conclusion right now and don't feel good about it? I don't care. I would rather you raise your hand so I can slow it down to go over it. Okay. I might do something and come back to it. So what I am definitely going to do is post a full problem example with a detailed written out like I want it on Google Classroom in the calendar. So like you see an example all the way written out. I'm going to see how far we get through class to see if I want to do one in class or not. But I'll definitely give you one that's like long, detailed, written out. I don't know that I want to spend 20 minutes of class just writing it out, but I can give it to you. So if I get some extra time at the end, I'm going to come back to it. If not, I'll post it.